Hello, welcome back to the Sermon Podcasting Mini Course. This is Lesson 5, and we're going to talk about storage and hosting. We're going to talk about choosing the right host for you. Okay, so first off, I want to clear a few terms up. There's a few terms that are passed around that I think a lot of people get confused. So there's hosting, and all hosting really is storage. It's where your, in this case, sermons are stored. There's feeds, or RSS feeds, or iTunes feeds that people talk about. And basically all this is a file of text that's a list of what your sermon's name are, the different tags of them, and where they are stored. So they can develop links that when somebody clicks play, they know where to play your file from. And then there's libraries. Libraries are things like iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, places like this, and all of those are our libraries. So a lot of people might think that my podcast is on iTunes, and iTunes actually has the files, and when you click on play, iTunes is playing that to you and streaming the audio to you and all that. That's not the case at all. When you click play in iTunes, it knows where your file is hosted and it plays it from there. So that's how the whole process works. So most hosting platforms create RSS feeds for you that tell places like iTunes and stuff where to find your sermons. So that's the process. And in this lesson, we're going to talk about hosting. So where are your files stored? Now there are a couple of different ways to host. You can self-host your files. And what that means is if you have your own website, like a WordPress website, and you have an upload functionality in that, and like say a church theme and has a place to upload your sermons. Some churches use this and they upload their sermons directly to the WordPress theme and they're listed as the WordPress theme. Not only does that take a little more work, but also if you look at your website hosting agreements, a lot of times this is against the terms of service to actually stream audio. So you might want to check that out, but that means you're self-hosting the files. So you're in charge of the files, and most of these themes will create a RSS feed for you that you can then get and submit to the library like iTunes. Then there's podcast hosting, and Closer Sharing is a podcast hosting company. We are a podcast hosting company specifically designed for churches. So when you clicked upload on the recorder that I showed you earlier, it flew off and went into the Closer Sharing cloud, hosted, ready to be played to your congregants. And another thing that happens there is it creates that feed for iTunes to know where to play the files from. So it's stored and backed up and the feeds are created for you. There are other podcast hosting services out there like Blueberry, Libsyn, Podbean, and they give you a place to upload this file that we created if you want to do it yourself. But I will tell you, there are costs associated with their hosting. And also there is quite a bit more work involved because you will have to manually upload this file, enter all the sermon information, and upload an image for the sermon. Now I can't go into detail on how to do this on each platform, but the steps aren't complicated. They're just a little time consuming. So that does it for this lesson. If you have any questions about this lesson, don't hesitate to contact me at dan@closersharing.com, and I'll do my best to help you out.